Could a school just spit in the face of that idea more than LSU right now?
Who did you just say was the highest?
I mean, they're firing Ed Orgeron so Ed Orgeron doesn't speak in the Title IX investigation.
According to the Detroit Free Press, Michigan State and Mel Tucker are working on a 10-year, $95 million contract extension to keep him with the Spartans instead of allowing him to test the waters of Louisiana State University and LSU. It's amazing what the LSU lure or the SEC lure can do for a coach who's very good in first year at Michigan State. They're doing some great things with Mel Tucker, and he's about to be heavier in the wallet because of it, because he's one of the hot names right now with several openings out there.
Yeah, well, certainly they have to feel more threat than LSU. You can't let one job prompt you into where there's a big, long
LSU is about to get a lot of people a raise.
Yeah.
Is what I'm,
well,
what
not
I'm
just
hearing.
a raise. Mel Tucker is about to become the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. That's what this will do. Think about that.
That's pretty extraordinary.
I understand the current demand for the season they're having, but that's
Ryan Day
also
should be the highest
that's
paid
ridiculous.
coach in the
Absolutely, Ryan Day should be the highest paid coach. Here's another
with some room, quite frankly.
Speaking of a lot of money, there's another report from the Volume Sports. This is from the J Boy Show. This is
which you all know.
I mean,
and
I
love.
guess it's this seems legit.
He's got 28,000
Both have a lot of
followers.
It's an actual show. He is reporting, and he said, I watched the video. He says, I was in the coaching world. I have a lot of friends in coaching, and a very reliable source is telling me that LSU has offered Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley an 8-year, $96 million contract. He goes on to say that part of the story that no one's talking about within the story of all these coaching moves is that these coaches can take whoever the heck they want with them. They can do whatever the hell they want. And Jacob Swanson laughed at that reference. And Caleb Williams would go with him to LSU, among others, the quarterback at Oklahoma, if he took this job. I think that's putting a lot of things into one report, right, from one source saying that. Yeah, but exactly. Not just Caleb Williams. Other players at Oklahoma would just follow him to LSU and go play right away at LSU. Not sit out.
I'm going to sound naive here, but Lincoln Riley got his big break from Oklahoma.
Got his big break from Bob Stoops.
Right. Bob Stoops leaves. Yeah. He gets promoted. He's a nobody, right? And turns it into a good thing. If he leaves for this contract, that's business as business is done. But if he then takes half the team with him, I feel like you really screw over the university that gave you. You got to leave something behind. You got to leave a shot. That's going to change then the rules about the transfer portal.
I think this is an unintended consequence. We talked about this with anything. NIL, there's going to be unintended consequences. Transfer portal, while it's mostly good, there's unintended consequences. This is one of those unintended consequences of
I'm taking my team with me.
We do all these things it's about the student athlete ultimately. So we do things for the student athlete. It's not about the coaches. Coaches shouldn't get all the benefit. But this is a storyline where I see it's the coach getting the benefit. The coach is getting $96 million to leave, screw over one university, and not only that, they get to take whatever player they want after selling that player on the previous university and program.
It's also stupid money season because LSU, if per the report, 8 years, $96 million.
Yes.
This coming from a university that just fired a national championship winning head coach from 2 years ago. And is I don't know about the buyout for Ed O, but imagine the buyout money that they're willing to pay Oklahoma to then get because Lincoln Riley's getting $8 million a year right now at Oklahoma,
whatever it costs.
So and meanwhile, Mel Tucker, after 1 year, is about to become the highest paid coach. He's the 4th or 5th highest paid coach right now in the Big Ten. He makes around $5 million, which is more than Mike Vrabel. And he makes around $5 million. He's about to make more than James Franklin. James Franklin right now, I believe, is the highest paid coach in the Big Ten, making a little over $7 million a season.
After 2-8 and 6-4, which we were talking about earlier.
My point there is these programs are willing to hire and then fire, pay the buyout, and the coach essentially gets paid to fail. How can you not take this money? Because even if you fail, you're going to make millions upon millions of dollars.
Set forever. Generations and generations.
Well, so Nick Saban in his new contract averages $10.6 million a year. He's the highest paid coach in football, and rightfully so. He's the greatest coach of all time.
He's underpaid.
Yeah, you could make that argument, but now you're going to I don't like when the market dictates making moves that make no rational sense.
Right.
So now we're going to pay $12 million a year to Lincoln Riley, over $1 million more a year than Nick Saban, just because LSU wants to flex some muscle and go get a coach who's won a lot but has yet to win a national title. Makes no sense. It also makes no sense for a university that's under a Title IX investigation and that currently employs Will Wade, who, by the way, probably will end up being fired with more of this FBI stuff coming out eventually. I think they're going to have no choice at some point. They held out as long as they could. But, I mean, it just... I'm no Pollyanna, pie-in-the-sky guy about college sports and the embetterment of the student athlete, and it's not just about wins. It's about turning young people into better people, and it's about academics and everything else. But could a school just spit in the face of that idea more than LSU right now?
Who did you just say was the highest?
I mean, they're firing Ed Orgeron so Ed Orgeron doesn't speak in the Title IX investigation.
Right.
And they're paying him the full buyout. So if they could easily fire Ed Orgeron for cause, they won't, because they know that would open them up to discovery if Ed Orgeron fought it. And then they'd have to go fully into, well, why was he fired for cause? And when they get into that, they open themselves up more for this Title IX lawsuit going on at LSU.
Who did you just say was the highest paid?
Nick Saban.
At what?
I think 10.7.
Okay, so
10.6 million is the latest contract that he signed. He's going to average over the life of it 10.6 million.
We've made quite a game. Hutton has these numbers out of like who makes more than Mike Vrabel and things like that. Sportico came out with a list, I think today, or I saw it last night. It's a subscription site. I don't have a subscription. But they have the 25 highest paid coaches in U.S. sports. I don't know if this updates what you've been working off. The share is just 3. Belichick at 18, Pete Carroll at 14, Sean Payton at 14.
14. So
they're making
NFL.
Yeah. 14 a year.
Because we were just saying how out of whack college is.
Not only would he be the number one highest paid in Big Ten, this would, and again, there will be other contracts this offseason. Mel Tucker, by this extension, by this rework deal after 1 year, would be second in the country behind Nick Saban on annual salary.
In college.
Mel Tucker.
Yeah, that's crazy.
At Michigan State.
It's too small a resume.
Well, and it's all because he was mentioned back in October by Bruce Feldman. And I do believe that LSU is interested in him.
But they're interested in a lot of people.
I also think there's is
LSU going to pay him $10 million a year?
I don't know.
Here's the thing about LSU, right? There's been no singular name. We've heard from a lot of people. We've heard Mel Tucker. We've heard that they're really going to storm after Jimbo Fisher, which
Lincoln
seems to have
Riley.
died down. Now we're hearing Lincoln Riley. So it seems likely that they're willing to go a couple different directions because they could have a lot of different guys. But we've not heard this laser-focused thing that they're hell-bent on getting one person, which, like you said, means a lot of guys are going to get raises.
But, Chad, think about it from this perspective. I mentioned the LSU where you can go and fail and still get paid. Mel Tucker can get paid $9 million a year and practically succeed every year.
And fail.
Tell me what success is at Michigan State compared to LSU.
Yeah,
and he's going to make LSU money.
Big Six Bowl.
Yeah, I mean it's competing at the top of the Big Ten East, but the expectation is never going to be to win it consistently, like it is at Ohio State or even at Michigan.
Go to the Rose Bowl if you're not in the playoffs.
I mean, and that's once every 3 years or so. I mean, again, I'm just
5 years,
throwing stuff out.
It's very uncomfortable to me that, and again, that $10.7 million that Saban's making, he signed this contract in August, and it runs through 2028. So it's 8 years, $84.5 million that he's making through 2020. It's
Already
just now
undervalued.
starting, right? So now the next contract's going to be Lincoln Riley for 9 years and making more than him. You know, here's another example.
How could anybody justify paying more
Tennessee
than him?
could have had James Franklin a year ago for $9 to $10 million a year.